Hello, my happy shiny puppies in training. This is Melody Fletcher, and I teach the law of attraction and reality creation, i.e., the technology of reality, to highly intellectual overthinkers just like you in a way that actually makes some freaking sense. And today, I want to answer a question from Awesome Dorette, who asks, I was wondering, if we came to Earth for our souls to learn certain lessons, how can the law of attraction be right to use? If we keep manifesting good things in our life, how are we supposed to learn the lessons? I'm a bit confused on this one. Well, Awesome Durette, you are absolutely not the only one confused by that, because this belief, this cockamamie bullshit belief that we are in school right now is so pervasive, and it is so all consuming that so many people hold that belief, whether they're fully consciously aware of it or not. And it shapes a lot of the beliefs that we show up with in our society. So just like here, you've bumped up against it. How are we supposed to learn all of our lessons if our life gets too easy and too good, right? That would be a belief that would keep you from your life becoming easy and good and becoming really abundant and getting everything that you want, because you can't get everything you want because you're supposed to learn lessons, right? So you see how limiting that belief becomes. But here's the thing, and I'm going to give you my truth. I'm going to tell you what really resonates with me, and that is that we are not, in fact, in school. Your soul is not learning lessons that have been laid out for it. Some of those lessons might be hard, and some of those lessons might be, require you to be in poverty. It really isn't like this. And this can be really hard to get your brain around, depending on where you're at in your life and where you're at in your energy. But we're not here to learn lessons. We're not here to better ourselves. We are holographic splinters of God. We're already perfect as is. We are not broken in some way and trying to become better. We're already perfect. So what do you do when you're already perfect? What do you do? How do you expand when you're already perfect, when you're not coming from a place of knowing nothing and having to learn lessons, or being bad in some way and having to learn how to be better? If you're already perfect, you understand it? Do you see how this creates kind of a paradox for a lot of people? If you're already perfect, then what do? You go out and you have fun. You expand by challenging yourself. What does a master do to have fun in their field? If you are the best tennis player in the world, how do you still play tennis and have fun? You set yourself challenges. Yeah? You don't play a boring game of tennis. You find the best tennis players in the world to play against. You up the stakes. Maybe you play at high elevation to make it a little bit more difficult. Maybe you try playing with one hand behind your back one time. Maybe, you see how you set yourself challenges to make it more fun. And to expand your ability and to go, to experience new things, to experience your abilities and yourself in new ways. Yeah. Or you maybe plunge into a field that you don't know that much about. Yeah. So we are holographic splinters of God who are already perfect just the way we are. We're not here to learn lessons. We're here to experience ourselves fully, in infinite numbers of ways. Every experience we have here, every nuance in every experience, the slight variations between the experiences, they're all valuable to us, not because we're trying to progress, not because we're trying to learn lessons and go up a grade, not because we're trying to fix ourselves and repair our karma or some shit like that, but simply because we were sitting around one day and decided that we wanted to have some incredible fun. And because we're such masters, we decided to play the most challenging game one can, which is to go from absolute density, the densest energy known, to absolute light. Now, the word for density is dark, but that kind of freaks people out. So density. Yeah. And that is what we are doing here on this earth game. And right now, we are in the midst of making this switch from the dense part of the spectrum to the much lighter part of the spectrum. We've sort of reached critical mass and we're making this shift. And that is what the awakening is. That is what the ascension is. Yeah, that's what they've all been talking about for thousands of years. That's the time we're in right now. So I know that it's hard sometimes when you look around the world and you think, why would anybody choose to have this difficult of a life? And I ask you, when you play a video game where you're slaying some monster, do you feel sorry for your little video game character? Because in his world, there's a monster with strong teeth and fire breathing abilities. And do you feel bad for them, or do you know everything's absolutely all right? Your little video game character can't actually die and he can defeat the monster. And don't you want there to be a monster? Don't you want it to be challenging? Or do you want your video game character to just run around in space, just in one place and never go anywhere? That's not a fun game to play. Yeah. And it really is like that. It is both completely meaningless and the most meaningful thing that you can imagine. It is incredible. It is not school. You are way, way beyond school. And one of the things you're being challenged to do is to recognize that, to recognize what a magnificent being you actually are, to recognize your absolute perfection, to recognize your godhood, to step into your power. That's how I talk about it, to step into your power, to become aware of your power. That's what you're really being challenged to do right now. It isn't about learning. So I hope I've clarified that. Hopefully I haven't confused you even more. Yeah. So for this week, I'm going to let you go. I'll see you next week. Until then, thank you for bringing your wonderful light to the world. And happy, shiny, smushy, smushy puppy hugs. Bye.